Bitcoin has been down this much or more 26 times in its history and gone on to set a new record all-time high every single time. So what? It's dipping. It's not like we haven't been here before. Let's do a recap. Okay, first of all, is Bitcoin still durable, divisible, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and most importantly, scarce? Yes. All of the fundamental elements that give Bitcoin value are still there. Nothing has changed. The price is down, but so what? It's down because people are panicking. The stock market is down. Everybody's trying to save their house. They're trying to save their business. They're trying to keep from having to file bankruptcy. Look, all of that's understandable. If you have to sell Bitcoin to try to save your life from financial catastrophe, well, hopefully Bitcoin can serve you well in doing that. But that puts pressure on the marketplace. But 26 different times, Bitcoin has been down 24% or more, which is what it is right now. And every time has recovered to new all-time highs. It is only a matter of time. People act, especially if they're new to Bitcoin, like this is the first time we've experienced any of this. I personally have been through a bunch of dips that were as bad or worse than this one. And what did I do? Well, early on in 2017 and 2018, I was not smart enough to be buying the dips because I didn't know why it was dipping. I wasn't paying attention. I did not know the attributes of a good money. I just knew that Bitcoin was a cool new technology. I was in favor of sound money. So I was not buying the dips the way I should have been early in my Bitcoin career. But later in my Bitcoin career, especially in 2021, 2022, well, really ramping up significantly in 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025, I became a very aggressive dip buyer. So as the price was falling in 2023, it was down to, I guess it was 2022 or 2023, whichever one it was. Anyway, the price was falling, and the price had fallen down to $23,000 per coin, and I put a quarter of all of my charitable giving funds in Bitcoin. And then it fell down to $21,000 a coin, and I put another quarter of all of my charitable giving funds. Ultimately, I ended up with more than half of all of my charitable giving funds in Bitcoin. And those funds have an average Bitcoin price of $22,000 per coin. So those funds are massively up. I can be much more generous with all of the things I support because I had the courage to buy the dip down at near the lonely bottom. Now, Bitcoin went on to dip lower than that, but I still got a substantial amount of Bitcoin in the low 20,000s at an average price of 22,000 for charitable giving in the future. That Bitcoin has increased in value by a factor of roughly 4x. Actually, it's almost 5x. But anyway, it has been as high as 5x. But, it's more than quadrupled in value, giving me a huge amount more purchasing power. I was buying a bunch of Bitcoin below $20,000 with personal funds. Then, as the price climbed from 2023 into 2024, the price was dipping in 2024, and it gave me the conviction, because of the price dip, to put my entire Baumgar Corporation 11 years of 401k into Bitcoin at a price of $57,300. And then later in 2025, I had 97% of my entire liquid net worth in Bitcoin. And I put, when the price dipped into the 80,000s, I put another 2% in, and then I was at 99%. And then it dipped into the high 70,000s or mid 70,000s. And while it was in the high 70,000s, right before it dipped into the mid 70,000s, I put my last 1% of all of my liquid assets in Bitcoin. So I've been 100% Bitcoin since April of this year. Again, Bitcoin has dipped this much or more 26 times in its life, in its 17-year life, and has recovered to set a new all-time high every single time. This is normal. It's just the pattern of every asset. The more volatility an asset has, the more potential future upside. Michael Saylor says, volatility is vitality. If something goes up and down, it can go up a lot. If something is not ever going down, it's also not going up very much either. There are no assets that have a huge upside without volatility to the downside on the way. By definition, if an asset has a huge amount of upside potential, it's going to be volatile on the way up for all the reasons I've explained in numerous other videos. So we've been here 26 times. I've bought the dip a bunch of times myself. Each time it dips, I buy more if I possibly can because it feels like the market is being irrational. There's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. People are selling it on sale. And if you dangle cheap Bitcoin in front of me long enough, eventually I'm going to find a way to buy it. And so as of, a week or two ago, as the price was dipping down toward $100,000, I decided I was going to sell the little bit of gold and silver I have back from 2017 and buy Bitcoin with that. It is not a liquid asset because there's not, it takes weeks to get liquidity on it. It's not like you can just go buy it and sell it on a whim unless you want to take a huge price discount at a pawn shop or something like that. But I did not want to go to a pawn shop. I wanted to sell it for the best price I could get for it, which was at SD Bullion. And that's fine, but it's a multi-week process to get money for gold and silver. But again, I did that because the price was dipping. I was planning to just sit on that gold and silver forever. Why not? It's a nice little, precious metals reserve. It was not part of my liquid assets, and so who cares? But the price dipped, and it shook that money loose, and I'm going to buy the dip. So I don't care if it's lonely down here at the bottom. I don't care if other people are buying the dip or not. I have been buying the dip for years now, and after I buy this one with all the gold and silver, I have no idea what else I have of value that would free up assets to buy additional dips in the future. I don't know. So far, I have not borrowed money to buy Bitcoin other than finance my Tesla and finance a Sleep Number bed, which has enabled me to not sell Bitcoin. It has not enabled me to buy more Bitcoin, but it has enabled me to not sell Bitcoin to pay for those things by financing them. But I don't know. In the future, the dips might be so irrational that I'm actually willing to borrow against a little bit of my Bitcoin to buy some more Bitcoin. I've never done that. I do not recommend it. You can get margin called. It only makes sense to do that if Bitcoin is radically on sale. So I don't think I will go to that, but I will find some way if Bitcoin keeps dipping in the future, keeps acting irrational, and people keep wanting to sell me their cheap Bitcoin. Eventually, I will find a way to take that cheap Bitcoin off of their hands. Because again, if the market's being irrational and stupid, well, I'm going to find a way to accumulate more Bitcoin because it's going to serve me well. And there's going to be a whole lot of people that wish they had bought the dips. I mean, I know it. I'm going to have numerous conversations over the next 5 years with people saying, yeah, it dipped below $100,000 and I just didn't have the conviction to buy it. So you know what? They're going to buy a bunch of $150,000 Bitcoin instead. That's fine, but there's a huge amount of economic, you miss out on 50% of all the benefits between 100 and 150 if you don't have the conviction to buy it below 100 and you only have the conviction to buy it above 150. That's fine. Bitcoin's a great asset. It'll serve you well regardless, but it serves you a lot better if you have a cheaper entry price. And unless you are already 100% allocated, which I thought I was until I decided to break loose some of this gold and silver, then, you can always find ways of buying more Bitcoin if your conviction is high enough. I always have, some way or another, found a way to get at least a little more Bitcoin in the big dips, like right now. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So as soon as this wire transfer from SD Bullion comes in for this gold and silver I shipped off to them on Friday of last week, I will immediately buy more Bitcoin with that money, regardless of the price of Bitcoin. And again, it's on sale. I know it's lonely at the bottom. I know it doesn't feel good, but the highest rate of return you get on any investment are the ones that are the most gut-wrenching when you actually make them. The ones that feel the worst when you actually pull the trigger tend to perform the best because it means you're buying them when they're down. The investments that feel the best, meaning you're buying into euphoria, when everybody thinks it's going to the moon, can't lose, it's way up, those investments tend to perform the poorest because you're buying the asset when it's most euphoric and it's most expensive, which is not the case right now for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is on sale, in my opinion, a great time to buy it. And if you want to follow all the details, James Check, my favorite Bitcoin analyst, is by far the best person to keep you in the loop on exactly what might happen, the probabilities of each. I try to share a lot of what he says back here through my own channels in a very simplified manner. But I recommend James Check. He's fantastic. So anyway, have a great day. Bitcoin's on sale. I'm buying more. Whether you're buying more or not, well, it's up to you. But I'm buying more. That's what I'm doing. And it's going to serve me well, and it always has.